Do you believe in God?
Of course. I believe in God. I believe I'm going to go to heaven.
No, but I do believe there's like a higher power.
Yes, I believe in God.
I'm definitely a believer.
Yes, I believe in God.
Yes, I believe in God.
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I believe in God.
Have you ever experienced a time in your life when you didn't believe in God or had doubts about His existence?
No, never doubted God.
I really don't struggle with anything. It doesn't matter where I am, who am I with, what is it that I'm doing. God is always in my mind. I'm always thinking of Him, and He will always be around. That's something that I believe in, and whatever it does is based on Him.
No, I never had doubt, and that never happened.
Yeah, sometimes, once in a while.
There are moments that I don't believe in God. I struggle to keep the faith.
There's just situations in your life where you think, there's no way there could be a God.
I did have a time in my life where I had doubts that God existed. Like when my mom was in the hospital, I just thought that no one was there and I was alone.
Oh, definitely when my sister was sick.
Last weekend when my dog got hit by a car.
Sometimes you just feel like there's no one there for you.
I've always believed in God. I lost 2 friends this year, and I just went to church and prayed, and I realized He was still with me because He helped me get through the pain.
There's nothing that could ever make me think anything different, that He's not here, He's not with me in all times, because He is with me at all times.
I think that everybody does at one time put God to the test, right? 2 days ago, the doctor thought I had a brain tumor, and I was like, is this really happening? Because I had a lot of pain right up in here. Of course, at times like that, you're gonna say, why me? You know, but eventually those who have faith are just gonna get through it.
Sometimes I feel like He might not be real, and I don't want to believe that.
Yogi Berra, the famous Yankees player and coach, had a few famous sayings.
One of these sayings was, I wouldn't have seen it if I didn't believe it.
We can apply this same idea to our faith belief.
How can we believe that which we don't see?
But then again, how will we see it if we don't believe it?
Sometimes it can be a real struggle to keep our faith and belief in a God we cannot actually see.
Struggling to believe. That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Matt.
And I'm Kira.
And this is Realfaith TV. Almost every teen on the street we spoke with said they believed in God.
But also, many of them said they had doubts during difficult times in their lives.
We'll hear from them again a little later in the show and talk with our studio guest.
But first, let's meet our spotlight guest Manny, who has a strong belief in God.
Although there was a time in his life when he had difficulty believing in God.
Let's hear his story now.
Yes, I believe in God. I feel like this world is just too amazing just for there not to be a God. There was once a time in my life when, like a year ago, I had problems believing in God and I was angry with God. The event that shook my faith was the death of my father. He passed away in a car crash on his way to work, and I didn't know how to deal with that. I was confused. I didn't know why God would take my father. There was a time where I did blame God. I didn't even want to go to church because my father was a big Christian. And every Sunday he was waking us up and going to church. And even when I went to church, it just hurt, and I just blamed God and was angry. But it took some talking to people for me to understand that this is a part of life, and I can't hate God for something that is part of life. It took a lot of meditation and a lot of prayer. There was one time that I was really upset, and I was just thinking about my father, and I just wished that I could just see him one more time. And I prayed that before I went to bed. And I had a dream about him. It was such a vivid dream that I actually hugged him. I woke up as I was hugging my father. And I think that was probably the best gift I could ever had at that moment. I knew it was a dream while I was sleeping, but I just took complete advantage of it, and I think my prayer did come to pass.
I think it's really common for someone that has lost a loved one or something, that they end up struggling with God, and I see that a lot.
Yeah, I've seen that in my family. We had 3 deaths in a year, and it was really difficult for all of us. Let's meet our studio guests and find out if they have had a similar experience.
Great idea. They are Julianne, Vince, Phil, Allison, Andrew, Kim, and Mary.
Okay guys, how strong is your faith, and have you ever experienced any doubts?
I feel like my faith is pretty strong. I mean, I've been practicing it since I was a baby. I go to church every week with my family, and I went to Catholic school. But sometimes I do have doubts about it, but since I've practiced my faith for so long, I'm usually able to overcome them when I pray or when I just find time to go to church and talk to people about my faith.
Yeah, I agree. I'm pretty strong in my faith. I don't necessarily doubt God. Like, I've struggled in my faith, and when I was younger, like, there was times where I was like, is there really a God? But I guess as I grew older and as I learned more about my faith, I really started to understand it more, and I don't have any doubts in regards to God.
I think part of growing strong in your faith is questioning, God, questioning your faith. And I think when it all comes down to it, looking at your roots, like how you've grown up spiritually, I think that's what's most important.
Yeah, I agree with you, Andrew, because when I've had doubts and I've questioned, I have found answers that have made me feel stronger in my faith and made me really be rooted, more rooted.
And having those roots gives you like a solid foundation that you can always fall back on. So when you do start to have these questions and exploring your faith, you originally have that foundation, so you know you can overcome those questions.
I definitely have like a strong faith. I go to church and I'm in a couple of youth groups in the church and I help out whenever I can. But I think the hardest struggle I had was when my mom got pregnant and lost her baby, and then she got pregnant again and lost her baby again. So I think that was like really hard on our family because my mom felt like God didn't love her because she didn't want to give her her baby that she wanted. Now she has another daughter through prayer, and we grew stronger as a family. So even though our prayers weren't answered in the way we wanted them to be answered, they got answered.
Yeah, I think just about everyone questions God at some point in their life. Jesus' disciples even had some doubts.
Despite the fact that they had the privilege of knowing Jesus personally and witnessing many miracles.
In the Gospel of John, chapter 20, we read that Thomas, one of Jesus' 12 apostles, doubted that Jesus had risen from the dead.
When the other apostles had shared the good news of Jesus' rising from the dead, he said, "Unless I see the mark of the nails in his hands and put my finger into the nail marks and put my hand into his side, I will not believe."
A week later, when Jesus again appeared to the disciples, Thomas was there. Jesus said to Thomas, "Put your finger here and look at my hands. Then reach out your hand and put it in my side. Stop your doubting and believe."
"My Lord and my God," was Thomas's response.
Jesus then said to him, "Do you believe because you see me? How happy are those who believe without seeing me?"
Next, Manny tells us about another reading from the Bible which inspires him in his belief.
He also shares what he struggles with the most when it comes to staying strong in his faith.
What I struggle with the most about my faith is keeping the faith. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of things that are telling you that God doesn't exist or there is no God. The story about Jesus, and he was walking on water and he called someone to come off the boat and walk with him. Peter, yeah, off the boat to walk with him. And I feel like sometimes that's how life is. It's like a raging ocean, like everything's going on. And you try so hard to keep the faith. It's such a scary world out there, and sometimes you do falter, but the good thing about Jesus is he's always there to pick you up. He's always there to grab you and hold on to you, even at your lowest points. And that story really spoke to me. I do believe there are reasons why people lose their faith in God. I believe that maybe just with some time and with some people who actually care about the person and care about their relationship with God, they might be able to reclaim that faith with God.
So what about you guys? What do you struggle with the most when it comes to believing and practicing your Catholic faith?
Well, I think what Manny said was right. Like, in today's society, all the media and like the culture isn't really focused on Catholicism. And so I think it's hard to continue practicing our faith while we're having all these negative influences on ourselves.
My biggest struggle with the faith is seeing good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people. Like, when that happens, like, I always wonder, God, why?
Something I struggle with in my faith is when someone close to you dies and you kind of wonder why them, they were such a good person. And it's hard to still have your faith in God because you're wondering why he would take someone so great away. It's something I struggle with a lot, but I think I'm usually able to overcome it because my faith is strong.
And also not only when someone dies, but like the little things, like if someone gets hurt or like someone's parents get divorced, stuff like that is really hard on people. And you wonder, like, what have they done, or why is God doing that? And sometimes that's really hard to deal with. but that can, I guess, also make you stronger in a way, knowing that you can overcome these situations and God is there to help you.
In Hebrews chapter 11, we read that
to have faith is to be sure of things we hope for,
to be certain of things we cannot see.
What does it take in today's world to be strong in our faith?
That's exactly what we asked the teens on the street.
Let's check it out.
How do you keep your faith strong?
I go to church on Sundays with my family, and I pray every night before I go to bed, and I tell God all my problems.
I pray.
By praying. I go to church with my mom, and I also pray, and I also have faith tattooed on my wrist.
I keep my faith strong by being an active member of my community and being at church every morning or every Sunday morning.
I keep my faith strong by going to church, reading the Bible.
I go to church a lot and I pray. I go to a Catholic school.
Has your faith ever been challenged by others who don't believe the way you do?
At some point, yes, but then again, I come back down to earth and I believe, hey, guess what? I've been believing in this the rest of my life. Why would I guess someone to change that?
Yeah, a lot, but I believe in God.
I don't think my faith has been challenged by anybody.
I actually go to an all-girls Catholic school, and there are some girls at the school that are like atheists and don't believe in God, and I mean, it's their own choice, it's whatever they believe in, but as long as they don't discriminate against me or are negative towards me about it.
Faith has always been challenged by my friends that are atheists.
Not at all. I mean, I have friends of many different ethnicities and believe in many different religions, but I stay strong with what I believe in, and I believe in God, and that's good enough for me.
Have I ever been challenged by someone around me? No. I think I'd be someone to challenge someone else.
Oh yeah, people, they just say that, they don't believe in God, there is no God.
Nobody's really challenged me, other people disagree.
If you believe in God, you should be allowed to say it and not be afraid of what other people think.
Of course, praying and communication with God will help to strengthen our faith life.
Also, getting more involved in your church community, especially your church youth group, if your church has one.
Reading the Bible and other Christian and Catholic writings can also help to build a strong faith life and belief.
So, how do you keep your faith strong?
And has your belief ever been challenged by others?
I know one way I keep my faith strong, like you were mentioning, was by participating in my youth group, but also through participating at Mass on Sundays, because I lecture at my church, and that actually really helps me get more in touch with Scripture, and I feel that that really builds a good foundation for my faith.
As far as being challenged, my father isn't Catholic, and really when it comes to talking to religion, sometimes my father and I don't always see eye to eye, but I've learned to embrace that I'm Catholic and I am comfortable with that, even though my father doesn't believe the same things I do.
One of my friends, she struggles with religion. She doesn't really believe in anything. So we talk about religion a lot, and by doing that just helps me reflect on my own beliefs more, and it helps me grow. And also by staying involved in community service in my church. Also, I run a Christian school club at my high school, my public high school, which is also really cool because it gets all of the Christians together and we all practice the same thing and believe and talk about it, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think staying strong as a community, I think that helps you in the long run, with church, whether it be like Mass every Sunday, youth group. I think that's important.
I go to a Catholic school, but a lot of my friends are actually atheists or agnostic. And when they first met me, they didn't realize how faithful I was. And when I started talking to them, they were like, "You're really Catholic, are you?" I was like, "Yeah." And at first, it would put us a little bit on edge, but then we started talking, and it kind of helps me grow in faith, because then they ask questions, because they're kind of curious. They don't believe the same things, but they do have questions, like things that they were never quite explained clearly. And it's really interesting that they look up to me to answer those questions at times.
There's this one kid that I know, and he's atheist. He tends to challenge not just Catholicism, but pretty much every faith. And it's hard to have to hear him put down my faith and what I believe, but I feel like I'm strong enough that no matter what he says, I still believe what I believe, and I'm able to overcome the doubt.
One of the main ways that I keep my faith strong is especially with the Realfaith program, with this TV show, coming here, talking about God with fellow teenagers to understand that faith is still around is important for me, and it keeps me strong in my faith. And when I go home to my family, I have an interfaith family, we're all Christians, but it's different denominations. And my grandparents and my mother and father admire the way that I speak about religion and admire the things that I have learned over the last 13 years of Catholic school and through Realfaith and things like that. And they appreciate, they don't necessarily challenge, but they, like Phil, they seek out what I know, and we share and we learn from each other.
Next, let's go back to our interview with Manny and find out what inspires and strengthens him in his faith.
And how an experience at the National Catholic Youth Conference really opened up his eyes about his faith.
I think the number one thing that inspires me in my faith is probably just seeing kids and like them developing their own faith, like not just believing what just people tell them to, but them actually exploring their own faith, that they have their own opinion, they have their own questions about faith. It took like a trip, the National Catholic Youth Conference, for me to really open up my eyes about my faith. There was a moment where there was a stadium of teenagers just all around, and it was dark, and there was this guy, Tony Melendez. He didn't have arms, but he played the guitar. It was probably one of the most amazing things I've ever experienced. And all around on the stadium, people had out their cell phones, and you could just see all around, it looked like stars were in the stadium, and he was just playing beautiful music without arms. How do you play guitar without arms? That moment when I just looked around, I knew there had to be a God. Everybody was feeling the same thing, I think, that I felt, so.
Hopefully we all, at some point in our life, have at least one of these kind of God moments, a time when you really feel that God is real.
Next, we asked the teens on the street if they've ever had any inspiring moments like this.
We also asked them who in their life has inspired them in their faith.
Let's check it out.
I felt the presence of God when we had a ceremony for my friend that passed away. We all bowed our head for a moment of silence, and I think we all felt like there was a presence there with us.
After I got my CAT scan, I cried because I was okay. I knew that he was on my side there.
My brother has severe diabetes, and he had to almost get his leg amputated, and at the last minute they said that they would be able to get him on medication to save him so he didn't have to get his leg cut off.
My grandma died. I know that God helped me get through that moment, which was very tough.
When I pray, I kind of feel like he's actually with me.
Tell me about someone who has inspired you in your faith and helped you in your struggle to believe.
My dad. My dad is a big God believer.
My mother, she told me pray at night and pray whenever I'm struggling and things is hard.
My stepdad is really the one who really made me believe in God and really talks about it with our family and stuff.
My mom, most definitely. She has inspired me throughout my whole entire life with different prayers.
A little bit of faith I have is from my priest, so I would say him.
My friend Sammy has, because I didn't go to church a lot, but ever since I became friends with her, I go every time I sleep over her house on Sunday morning.
My mother, she told me that, no matter what happens, God will love me, she'll love me.
My grandma, because she's the only one in my family who really goes to church and stuff every weekend, and I've never seen someone who's had enough good in her life like she has.
My grandma, because she's just really religious.
My grandmother that I mentioned before, I remember when I was little, when I'd be over there, sometimes we'd do the rosary on TV together. It's really stuck with me.
My mom and my grandma, always, every day. They say you pray and every day gets better.
I actually had a God moment with ladybugs.
Ladybugs?
Yeah, when my grandmother passed away in January, I opened the bathroom door and a ladybug flew out, and it was so strange because I was like, why is there a ladybug in the middle of January? But I knew that she was watching over me and she was okay and she was with God, and it was just really awe-inspiring.
My mom had a similar experience. When my grandfather passed away, she had seen a lot of signs that reassured her that my grandfather was there with God watching over us, just like you had said. Can any of you guys share a God moment with us?
Or is there someone in your life that helps you and inspires you when you struggle with your faith?
When I was a freshman, I was chosen to help lead a retreat, and we were told to make a talk. And during that time, I was going through a really tough time. So when it came for me to talk to everyone who had gone to the retreat, I just started pouring my soul. I started telling everything that was going on with me. When I was done, literally everyone got up and came to me and gave me hugs and pats on the back and was like, wow, we didn't know that. We're here for you. And it was really amazing because it was at that moment that I really felt God's love, and I was like, wow, God's put all these amazing people in my life.
My grandma used to always take me to church, and she would walk with me, and we would talk about it, and I really grew in my faith.
What inspires me is when a big group of people, Catholics are together. That just is so powerful to me. When I went to the Pope's Mass at Yankee Stadium, it was awesome being there with thousands of people who shared the same beliefs as I do. And that was probably also my God moment, because I could feel his presence. Like, he was there with us, and it was just an amazing experience.
My parents inspire me. They make sure that we go to church every week, no matter what. Even if we're on vacation in a different state, we look up what churches are around and we go. And it shows me that faith is important to them, and it just strengthens me in my own faith.
Yeah, my family does the same thing. I think it really does. Because you're still, even though you're on vacation, God is never going to take a vacation. There has been a movement in the United States to take God out of the public square.
For instance, taking "In God We Trust" off our currency.
And even taking "One Nation Under God" out of the Pledge of Allegiance.
Do these kinds of movements shake your faith or make you struggle with your beliefs?
That's what we asked the teens on the street.
Not at all. I mean, I still believe in what it is that I believe, which is God.
Not really. It made me want to reach out to people more and tell them to believe in God. There's nothing wrong with it. It can change your life.
It really doesn't affect me, but I can see how it could affect someone else. I believe in God. I don't care about that whole Pledge of Allegiance thing. I think that's silly.
That doesn't really faze me at all.
People just, they don't believe in religion or whatever. And if they feel that way and they're strong enough about it, I don't take any offense to it. And, I just believe in what I believe, and it doesn't matter what anybody says.
Pledge of Allegiance, everyone's been saying it for years. And if you don't believe in it, then don't say it.
Based on my answers, you think I'd say that's okay, but no, it's not. It's not okay. This is part of our history, it's part of our tradition, part of our values. It's nothing you can take away because there's no point in doing it.
I think God's a lot more important than anything, written on a piece of paper, on currency. They say, "In God we trust."
I definitely agree. I think it's just important to respect religious differences. I mean, regardless of what the movements are. I mean, if you have a faith, stick with it. You don't have to be religiously zealous about it. You can be confident in your faith and just go about it without, being affected by how things are going on around you.
Our country was founded on Christianity, so I think that by keeping "In God We Trust" on the currency is only fitting.
As we've already mentioned, part of building a strong faith is spending time with others who believe what we believe.
Next, Manny tells us how important community is in building up our faith.
The whole community process, being with other people who do believe, I feel that anybody who's struggling with their faith and has questions about their faith, they shouldn't feel as they're in the wrong or doing something wrong because they're questioning their faith. They should go to other people, like other friends, family members, and explain their questions that they have with faith. Talk to people. I feel like the greatest bond that we have is just with other people believing in the same God. Like when you're in church, just that bond that you have with everyone else in that church is just immeasurable, and I feel like people should utilize that to their advantage. And that's why I feel like youth ministry is such a good thing to teens. It actually even inspired me to, when I grow up, I want to do youth ministry, because I feel like it's an experience that I think all teenagers should have, and I was just fortunate to have mine. So I want to share my gift that I have with other people.
I think it's really important to be active in your church community because, Manny's story, he was inspired by a church activity, so I think if we are able to participate in those activities, maybe we're going to inspire somebody else to believe.
Yeah, I know that when some of my friends came to me and they were talking about how they couldn't find, what words to express themselves in their faith, I told them to talk to our priest. He's a young guy and he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, and for other people who struggle, my best advice to them would be simply ask questions, learn more about your faith, learn more about other faiths, because the more you understand about other people's beliefs, the more you'll understand about your own.
Yeah, there are definitely people out there who are willing to help you, and I mean, Real Faith has answers.
It's people, they aren't far for advice. It could be your friends or your church community. Even as Allison was saying, if there was a Christian club or somewhere nearby where you can go and even just talk about your beliefs, because that can really help you understand yourself better.
It's also really important to talk to God and go to church and pray. This way, maybe you'll get some answers from Him and you'll become stronger in your faith through Him.
In John chapter 11, Martha, the sister of Lazarus, came to tell Jesus that her brother had died.
She said that if Jesus were there, Lazarus wouldn't have died.
Jesus said to Martha, I am the resurrection and the life.
Whoever believes in me will live, even though he dies.
And whoever lives and believes in me will never die.
Do you believe this?
Yes, Lord, she answered. I do believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who was to come into the world.
So try to put your fears, your doubts, your worries to rest.
And put your belief, trust, and hope in our Savior and Lord, Jesus Christ.
Do you ever struggle with your faith?
We'd love to hear your story. Contact us through our website.
The address is www.realfaithtv.com.
Or you can call us at 609-406-7402.
And we'll leave you with this final thought.
We may experience times when we feel close to God.
And other times when we feel like we're hanging out on a limb.
This is normal in our spiritual journey.
But remember that God is always there with us, even if we don't recognize His presence.
Over time, we'll become more and more aware of God's actions in our lives, and doubt will become smaller and smaller.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Real Faith TV. God bless.